So the principle number one, and that's what I've taken on board, is you don't say, I am a business manager writing a proposal. You are a business manager writing a proposal, and you're an expert in. You tell AI who they are.
That's right. And the more detailed output you want, the more detailed the role would be. So there are lots of examples, but you can build on this in the context, by the way, but let's say in your case about the show notes, you might say you're an expert podcaster. So the more detailed you are, the better. And everyone's contexts are very precise.
Welcome to Season 4 of the Manage Self, Lead Others podcast with Nina Sunday, CSP, for experienced and aspiring people managers. This show helps you explore ways to become a more intentional leader. Each episode, host Nina Sunday speaks with some of the brightest business minds on the planet who share a passion to elevate and transform team culture. Workplace culture hides in plain sight. Is yours flourishing? Join the movement to make your workplace a better place to work. Are you ready? Because it's time to manage self, lead others.
Prompt engineering is the new discipline of selecting precise language to guide generative AI to deliver high-quality responses. In this episode, learn how to level up your AI skills by mastering the art and science of prompt engineering. My guest is Rob MacLachlan, founder of Actualize AI, helping leaders integrate AI into work practices. Rob MacLachlan's Masters in Teaching English as a Second or Other Language, known as TESOL, and experience as an examiner and trainer of examiners for International English Language Testing System, or IELTS, led him to expertise in crafting detailed mega prompts, going beyond standard prompts, which are often brief and lack context. Rob MacLachlan's mission is to guide leaders to adopt AI to realise speed to execution, transforming ideas into decisive, swift actions, driving competitive advantage. You'll find him at Actualize AI, that's Actualize with an S, actualizeai.com.au. So over to you, Rob.
Thank you. So there's 4 basic components to a prompt. Well, it depends what you want out of it. So there's a basic idea of if you put rubbish in, you're going to get rubbish out. And frankly, a lot of people I've spoken to, seems to me, are not getting what they want from it because they're not phrasing the prompt in the right way. So the prompt is really the instruction, but you have to define the roles. And the basic principle here is the more detailed you are, the further into the, maybe not the abyss, but further into this, the way I'm thinking of it is this cloud of expertise.
Well, let me just clarify for the people that are listening, and this might be foreign to them or the first time they're hearing this, because I'm going to tell you a story about one of my assistants who's a university student when I said, we are going to do show notes today, getting a content summary of the transcript of the episode. And you'll notice that what I'm going to write in is, you are an expert podcaster and you are creating the show notes for and content summary for your episode. And he said, you're kidding. What do you mean you are? You're the podcaster.
Oh, right.
And I said, no, this is what prompt engineering is. Yeah. You tell AI that they are the expert. Right. You are an expert copywriter, familiar with promotional language. And he said, I don't believe you. He actually did not believe me.
Interesting.
That's how green university students are at the moment with AI.
Yeah.
Because I think universities were a bit against using AI.
Well, they are, and this speaks to this is the potential for businesses is actually that the larger institutions are going to be slow.
Right.
Whereas small businesses are nimble.
Yes.
And they can make decisions quickly and move quickly. And we're talking about speed.
So the principle number one, and that's what I've taken on board, is you don't say, I am a business manager writing a proposal. You are a business manager writing a proposal, and you're an expert in. You tell AI who they are.
That's right. And the more detailed output you want, the more detailed the role would be. So there are lots of examples, but and you can build on this in the context, by the way, but let's say in your case about the show notes, you might say you're an expert podcaster, but you might also, because you want the output to be very particular and specialized, you might also describe even the psychographics of this person or this AI, or the linguistic capabilities of this AI. Mm-hmm. So you might go more detail and say, and you're able to extract deeper meaning from more general ideas, for example. Uh-huh. Or you might be able to say, you're an expert in very precise descriptions. Now, precision in vocabulary is a concept, and there's lots of other concepts within vocabulary that you could talk to. You might, this is not a great example, but you might also say, you also have the flexibility of language use to be able to tailor your output to the precise audience. So there's lots of sort of tentacles of that you could go more and more and more detailed. Yes, you can. So the more detailed you are, the better. And everyone's contexts are very precise. So.
And what I've discovered is that you showed me how you wrote a prompt, and it just went on and on and on. And I'm thinking that if people here are wondering how detailed can you get with prompt engineering, Rob MacLachlan is your man. He's a consultant in that area. Yeah. And it'll be in the show notes, and we'll talk at the end about how you can contact Rob. But so can you explain what mega prompts are and how they differ from regular prompts?
Yeah. So it's just a big prompt, but we should get back to the roles just for a sec. Because, you've got the you're this.
Yes.
I'm this.
Yes.
And you can be just honest out. This is who I am and this is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Then you might give it more context. So in your example of the show notes, you might say, here's an example of some previous show notes that I really like.
Oh, yes.
Or you might even say, and these are ones I like and these ones I don't like.
Right.
And then you're going to get onto the task itself, so the instruction.
Yeah.
And this is where you'll describe what your output is. And there's a kind of a bit you might tag on the end, which I always do, because I'm producing very long documents. And I can't just say, give it me all at once. I need to break it. So first, we're going to do this section. When you've done this section, when you've created this section, ask me if there's anything I would like to. And I use these 3 words because they come from what we would do if we're assessing language. So clarification, expansion, or an exemplification. So ask me if I require any more clarification, exemplification, or expansion.
Oh.
Because that's going to give me the option to say, well, can you clarify this? Can you expand on that? Can you give me some examples of that? If that makes sense. So that's the basic prompt. The you, I, context, and instructions. And then back to your next question was about mega prompts. So I'm doing that on a massive scale. So there's a bot that we're writing at the moment to assess English language, and the prompt for that is currently at about 1,000 words, but what we're getting from it is not precise enough. So now I'm going to have to add, essentially, my guess at the moment is another 1,000 words. In other words, there's concepts within there that I'm going to have to expand, clarify, and give examples of. So that's mega prompts. So they're the same concept, but on a massive scale. And if you're looking for a huge, or depending on the size of your output, you will want to chunk it and break it down. So that requires that the prompt itself has sections within it, and that you refer to those. But you also train the prompt or the thread to be ready to create different sections.
Oh, right. And you might do it section by section, rather than ask for everything all up front.
Exactly.
Because it's like a conversation.
Right.
What you are given might change what you would say next.
Exactly.
Like, for example, I was given a set of questions, but I forgot to say, but please don't number them. Because I wanted to reorder the questions and then I had to delete all the numbers.
Yeah, that's right. So if it's going to give you what you don't want, you want to get that done early.
Yes.
And then fix it. Now, if that's all in one thread, it will have learned. The next section will have learned from the previous one. So.
You're a novice at having a conversation with AI. Just who are your favourite AI subscriptions that you prefer at the moment? And some are free and sometimes you pay.
I use Perplexity AI, but I like that because it gives me all the sources and I want citations.
I was focusing on ChatGPT and Copilot. The minute I started using Perplexity, what I like is without asking, it gives me the related questions. And I go, oh, I didn't even think of those questions. Right. So it's thinking ahead. It's anticipating
it is.
What I might want to know.
Yeah.
I love it. So
it is amazing.
That's the one I go to now.
So I have a subscription for that and for ChatGPT. And I love the Scholar GPT. In there,
as in Scholar Google,
yeah.
So Scholar GPT, yeah.
Because I don't want to produce rubbish. I have to be able to stand up and say I believe this is true.
That's right,
and I have to have the evidence to support that. And then Gemini, I have a subscription for and
what's Gemini? What's it?
The Google one.
Oh, right.
Gemini, yeah. And look, if you have a subscription, anything you upload is not going to be public.
That's right. And that's why companies say that you can only use Copilot because then you've got confidentiality. Yeah. You were talking really about how to get started with AI and how to talk to AI as if they are the expert in what you are the expert in. So don't say, I'm the expert, please do this for me. You say you are the expert and go into as much detail as you can, but also only do bits at a time so that, sometimes it chooses to number things or it chooses to structure it in a certain way. And you might say, well, no, please don't give me a table, give me just sentences, or give me bullet points, not sentences. Yeah. So you can just instruct it.
Yeah, that's right. You touched on an important point there, which is the concepts of coherence and cohesion. So within those concepts, which again comes from language assessment, but you've got the idea of a logical sequencing of ideas.
Yes.
So this logical sequencing of ideas is very helpful.
Right.
But also within that, you've got the idea of cohesive devices, words that refer back.
And another way you told me to get AI to understand your voice is to upload some examples of your writing.
Yeah.
How would you do that so it becomes?
Well, I'll give you an example. There's a guy I met on a plane from Fiji who is the chairman of a company, and he's also writes articles as a journalist. And I went to talk to him about AI, and what I did is got 3 of his old articles and loaded them up as a sample and said, now, this is a simplified version, basically now write an article about this subject.
And you had to do it as text only. You can't do it as a picture of or a PDF.
Oh, it is a PDF.
It's a PDF?
Yeah. But so you can load that up and say, please refer to this. Here's an example. Please use this. And now we're back to language, but you please use the same voice, which in writing is really how you write, but we break that down into, voice, tone, style, syntax, lexis, which is vocabulary. Syntax, is how to create sentences. Lexis is vocabulary.
And so, what would you prompt AI using the words syntax or lexis?
I would say a simple version would be: please use a similar syntax and lexical style and tone to how I've used it in this uploaded example. And I always put the name of the file.
Yes.
So that book's called Transforming Your Writing for IELTS. So I say as shown in, and I put the file name. I don't know if I need to do that, but I'm very, very overly, it's like I'm talking to a child and I have to scaffold instructions in a and then do this.
So have you worked with any businesses at the moment or in the recent past that where you've consulted with them and they've transformed a business process? Have you got an example of that?
Well, a client called me and said, I want to compare our course that we've just written to the Pacific Qualifications Framework, which is really quite a lot of analysis, but I wrote a long prompt and it did it. I was able to get back to her, respond to her very quickly with what she wanted. There's a nursing business. It's one of the testimonials on my website. The owner wanted to be able to respond to her nurses more quickly. And I said, well, what do you want? She said, well, I want Ask Amy. So we built a bot that contains all that academic research, that the evidence essentially that supports something that she would say.
Right.
So you can ask it, what do I do? This is the problem with the patient. What do I do? There's obviously legal implications in that as well, and they're built in. But so that saves her having to spend lots of time on the phone or with her nurses. The nurses have a go-to more quickly.
Well, they can actually ask the bot on the website rather than have to ask the boss.
Exactly.
The bot versus the boss.
Exactly. And then there's another client who his output is proposals to businesses to basically do all their digital website stuff. And we've managed to, again, load up all of the previous samples, and then in that thread, we can basically refer to them and say, again, keep the company message or the style of writing or the company's capabilities. And so again, so his output, which is actually administratively his proposals, is much more, 5 times more actually. Look, the output still needs to be checked. You have to have a human to check everything.
Yeah, that's true.
At the moment, we're not at the point where we can just trust everything.
Yes, I was going to ask you, at this point in time, what is the age of AI when you communicate with it? There's these people talk about it's got the mind of a 12-year-old, it's got the mind of a teenager. Where are we at?
I believe we've gone over the bell curve of intelligence.
What does that mean exactly?
Well, we were at an IQ of about 80 or 90, and now we're more like 120.
Yes. Yes, I've noticed. Yeah, I've definitely noticed an improvement. I've been working with AI. I wrote a booklet.
Yeah.
March year before last.
Yeah.
So that's nearly 2 years.
Yeah.
I still use it, but I think I might re-upload it and get it to improve it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's something I think we were going to touch on, but with an example like that, you could, if there's certain, so think about it, if there's certain business leaders whose philosophy that you particularly, when we talked about Seth Godin,
yes.
or Edward de Bono, or
there's some
Robbins,
other experts, yes.
Yeah. So what you would do there, and then there's this other layer, which is the kind of, you want your output and you're going to write this prompt, but before that, you could get other output to put in that one. So, for example, in your case, you might say something like, you're an expert in the history of business leadership, in the significant global trends of the past 200 years, blah, 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 as precise as possible. Who are the big movers and shakers? Not, we wouldn't say that. Who are the great business leaders that stand out in this period? And we'd be more precise about that. And then it will give you a list.
Right.
Then you might say, now summarize their main philosophies or thoughts or ideas, something like that.
Yes.
Then you've got this thing, and then this output. Sorry, this prompt, this output. And then you might put that in your prompt and say, very simply, but here's my book. What would these people comment on about this book?
Oh, about how I could improve this book.
Right. Or how would I apply their philosophies and principles to the content of my book?
Right.
And again, it's quite a lot. So you might need to, in the task, you might need to break it down.
So my book navigating disc might be already on Amazon by the time this episode goes to air.
Yeah.
With your good advice.
Yeah. And then, but you would want it to produce it section by section.
Yes.
Because you might like what Seth Godin says about it, and you might be happy with that, or you might not. You might say, well, please expand that more, or clarify what you mean about that particular aspect of leadership there.
What I like about what you're telling us, Rob, is up until now, all I would say, can you make it more conversational? Can you make it have a dash of humour? Yeah. Like, that was all I could ever do. Right. But now I can think about actual authors that are well known.
That's right.
And say, can you write more in their style?
The only restriction here is your thinking. In terms of how far you want to go down one of those paths. So the bigger you build it, the better it's going to be.
Yeah,
that's my current thought. But these things are moving so quickly that it's difficult to keep up. Like, everything I'm saying now might be completely wrong in a short amount of time. We just don't know.
And if you're working in a company, you must also use the company subscription, because that preserves the confidentiality. You don't want to accidentally put a client's name or something, that is negative about your own company, because that can go out into the public domain. That's right.
There's a couple of things, but if you look at how technology is released and adopted, and that whole adoption curve, there's a couple of things. Firstly, it seems to me that we've gone from, in plane terms, as in the flying plane,
building the plane while flying the plane.
Yeah, it's a bit like that.
We've already got Michelle Tinsley's episode on enterprise AI, how you can work with a big company to get an enterprise level AI improving your processes. But this episode is really geared to team members, how they can be using AI in their daily practice just to write emails, reports, promotional material, proposals, and I'm doing it too. Yeah.
Great.
Thank you for your expertise, Rob. It's been a true pleasure.
Thanks for having me, Nina.
Thank you. Until next time.
Until next time.
Bye for now. Wasn't that exciting? We were levelling up our AI knowledge, diving into the art of crafting powerful prompts and mega prompts that transform how we use AI tools. And Rob MacLachlan's mission is to guide leaders to adopt AI to realise speed to execution, transforming ideas into decisive, swift actions, driving competitive advantage. You'll find him at actualizeai.com.au. That's actualize with an S, actualizeai.com.au. My name is Nina Sunday, and this is the Manage Self, Lead Others podcast.
Nina Sunday CSP is on a mission to help leaders transform culture. Nina Sunday travels from Brisbane, Australia, to facilitate half-day or full-day workshops at your location anywhere across Australia. For a list of Nina's topics around leading people, productivity and communication, go to brainpowertraining.com.au, signature programs, to request a tailored proposal. To book Nina Sunday CSP to speak at your conference in Australia, New Zealand, Asia or internationally, head to ninasunday.com for details.
This podcast is a part of the C-Suite Radio Network. For more top business podcasts, visit c-suiteradio.com.